Hey, thanks for joining me for today's episode. Today's episode is titled Trust the Process, and I bring on CJ. CJ is a creative director, a fashion designer, a father, a husband, a son, and an inspiration to me. Today, we're going to be talking about his design process. We're going to be talking about where his inspiration comes from, as well as mental health in fashion. So let's get into it. Hey CJ, welcome to the For the Creatives podcast.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's going well. Thanks for coming on. It's been a while in the making.
Yeah, I've been super excited about doing this since the beginning of you saying you were going to do it, and I was like, well, obviously I want to do it. Then I want to be on. So yeah, it's nice to finally get on.
Well, I'm very excited about this episode. So I'd love to talk about sometime like soon, a bit of your creative process, a bit of your journey with your clothing brand and how that's all going. But first of all, let's take it back to the beginning. Well, first of all, do you want to introduce yourself? Like, who is CJ?
Hi, I am CJ to most, Charles to some. Charles is my government name. I'm finally saying that out loud to people, so that's fun. There you go. That might have been the first time you've heard me say my government name.
Yeah, it is.
So I am 33 years old. I am from San Bernardino, California, and I am a fashion designer. I am a husband and a father of two, and I like to speak out about men's mental health.
Yeah, awesome. So California, what's California like?
What's California like? California's a lot like, what do I say about California? In ways, California is exactly what you see on TV, and then California is nothing like what you see on TV.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the perfect weather, access to like snowy mountains, sandy, beautiful beaches, forests, deserts, that's all true about California. It's
What's the downside?
The downside would be, I'm not gonna say downside, but it's super expensive.
Yeah.
Things like LA are overrated for what people think they are. I guess like on movies and things like that. Super overrated, super overcrowded. Something like Sydney, some people say, as far as the crowds.
Okay.
But yeah, don't get me wrong, it's home. I love it, and I can't wait to go back this year.
So originally you're from California and you are a fashion designer located in Queensland, Australia.
Yes.
What got you into fashion design originally?
Originally, I just like I've mentioned before, I've always been into the putting together of clothes, more the styling aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then once I realized I was able to, that people actually made clothes. It was a thing that someone did. It wasn't just some magical machine that just spat out clothes.
Yeah.
Then I was just locked in and completely fascinated. And I jumped out. I actually didn't make clothes for a long time. It wasn't until high school, until a couple of friends and I started to just silk screen.
Yeah.
Because that was what I thought it was to make clothes. Like, you buy the garment and then you silk screen on it, and that's kind of it. And sewing clothes just seems so far away.
Silk screening. What is silk screening?
Silk screening is, or screen printing is,
okay.
Yeah, so it's the process of basically stenciling plastisol, which is like an oil-based ink, onto a t-shirt. People listening right now are probably wearing a silk screen t-shirt. So, yeah. I mean, that was the way of starting, and thinking about constructing a garment from scratch was my dream. But it always seemed like, how do you do that? Like, how's that done? You know?
That's cool. And you mentioned in our previous conversation something about Cabbage Patch Dolls and your sister.
Yes. Meant to touch on that again. So with my sister's dolls, Cabbage Patch Dolls, and like Barbie dolls, they have clothes. Mixing and matching those different clothes was one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. Just getting the different colors and, like I said, styling more than anything. Yeah. Until I realized that, like, these are made by people. Yeah.
Yeah, someone actually has to put them together.
Yeah.
Your brand is Lightning Boy Clothing.
Yeah.
When did you come up with that name, And if you could describe the essence of Lightning Boy in one sentence, what would it be?
The brand name Lightning Boy came from a prior endeavor that we never followed through with, but it always resonated with me. And when I went out on my own to do my own brand, I took the name with me just because for me, Lightning Boy meant to be seen and not heard. Whereas the thunder is the element of the lightning that you hear, whereas the lightning is just that beautiful flash, very boisterous without metaphorically opening its mouth. And that's how I always seen myself, especially in high school.
Making a statement without being too loud.
Yeah. Making a statement without making a sound.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. And before we get into where you're at currently with the brand and that stuff, between you and your friends in high school with silk printing, screen printing then and now, what's a brief overview of the journey or the process between now and then? How your love for fashion and your passion for fashion has sort of developed into this brand?
I like to look at it like there's a trend on Instagram right now where it'll show someone complaining about where they are with their business, and they say, like, oh, I wish I had more people buying my paintings. And then it flash back to like a kid version of them, and it says, wait, we're professional painters? Like, and I think that's like the best trend ever. So that's kind of where I'm at right now is there are times where I think, oh, I wish I was doing this, or I wish I had that at this point. And then I kind of flash back to that kid who was in the garage thinking that sewing garments together from scratch was like this impossible task. And it's like, wait, you have a business where you sew garments together from scratch and your own patterns, and people buy it. Yeah, people like them. Like, people actually like them. So that's what I always think about on that journey, because I'm kind of where I've always wanted to be. Even when we started just like painting shirts and things like that, I've always wanted to be at the point where I'm at now, where I'm making garments from scratch. I never really wanted to stick to t-shirts. I just did it because it was a way of expression, and I could call myself a fashion designer. But then it wasn't scratching that itch for me. So that journey was pretty much a culmination of everything I needed to go through to get to where I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I'm sure there were like many highs and lows and ups and downs that have come with that.
Yeah, many highs and lows. I mean, we'd be here for hours if I went into them, but
has there ever been, maybe multiple, but a time where you've wondered if you should keep pursuing like, I guess, fashion or this direction, or have you always just been, this is what I'm pursuing, this is what I want to do?
In a way, it's always been, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do. There's been plenty of times where I thought, I'm not making as much money as I want to make, or as someone else who's gone to do a plumbing apprenticeship or something, or you know what I mean, like something more what some would say sane. But annoyingly enough, I never could stop. Even at times where I thought it'd be best not to. I mean, I've worked a magnitude of different types of jobs, but still, designing and still working on the brand. So it's no matter what I do, I know it's my, I can either treat it as like my dark passenger, that I can't get rid of, or as like my guardian angel that saves me.
Yeah, wow. I like that. Like, it's something that's hard for, in my opinion, it's hard for non-creators or non-creative people to sort of understand, when you're sort of pursuing this direction or this passion or something, even when you can't fully see, maybe in the moment, how it's going to look in the future, or how it's going to work out, or even what your next two steps are. But you're so driven, and you're like, this is what I love, even though sometimes we don't always love it sometimes, this is what I want to do. To have that passion and that drive, I think, is something that can be really hard for some people to understand who haven't had that before. But I think it's also one of the most beautiful things about being able to pursue something we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a bit of a gift and a curse in that sense, where it feels like sometimes there's been many times where I was thought, why couldn't I just want to be a doctor? You know what I mean? And just like go, not saying that being a doctor is easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's
a structure.
There's a bit of a structure to it.
Yeah.
Or why couldn't I have been, just whatever, something. You go to school for the X amount of years, you take the degree, you apply for the job, you show up for the job, you do your best. You know what I mean? You work hard.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that obviously would have been, and I don't want to say easier, not an easier, a more steady route, I should say.
Yeah.
A more stable route.
And it's something where you can like look at a timeline and you can be like, yeah, here, this is where I am on that timeline.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like, I don't know what you think about this, but I feel like pursuing a really creative career or pathway, that timeline can look a lot messier than more traditional pathways or jobs.
Yeah.
Like
it looks a lot more like a roller coaster ride of ups and downs than that, then like you said, then that like potentially
linear,
straight timeline. And again, I don't want to make it seem like that if you go for something like being, a doctor or a teacher or something, that it's easy or straightforward, or that's not what I'm saying. I guess I'm saying there's no roadmap to doing these kind of things. It's creative fields is not only creative in the arts, it's creative in how you succeed in it. You have to create your path. And there are many other people who've done similar things, but a lot of times those things won't work for you. Whereas if you're going for a degree in something, you could take a direct path that everyone else takes.
Yeah.
And you can get that degree. You know what I mean? Like it's a cut out path. But if I take the same path as the next fashion designer, there's no guarantee. Actually, there's a large chance that it won't work the same for me.
If you're just imitating their
If you're
style.
just imitating the same style or the way they got on. It's fun though. Like even talking about it now, I'm getting excited about it. I'm like, it's exciting.
No, I like that. There's a different process. Aspects of the journey for like us as creatives may be very similar, but we've each got our own path, and that can look slightly different.
Yeah.
And if we're just like doing that, if we're just imitating another designer or something, we're probably not being authentic to us and who we
exactly.
are. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you are consistently one of the most creative people I know.
Oh, cool. That is. That's pretty cool.
And I'm constantly influenced by everything, whether I'm seeing you in person or it's online.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So I have a question, and this is a question I've been asking everyone.
Okay.
But what does creativity mean to you?
So many like buzzwords shot through my head when you said that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to me? I mean, just to be a bit melodramatic for a second, like creativity is air, water, sun. It's the way I'm able to live.
Yeah.
I use creativity when it comes to parenting. I use creativity in my relationship, in my marriage. Creativity is such a large part of my life and the way I create. So it's really hard for me to even say what creativity is to me. It's a life force for me.
Yeah.
If I can't create, like I've been through some times that were, for lack of better terms, actually it's probably the best way to put it, is just dark times where I couldn't create for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to have to say that I can't create or couldn't create. It was that bad. You know what I mean? Creating is a life force for me.
Yeah, nice. Going off of that, you mentioned before that your brand has a big, and you have just a big passion and a big focus and a big value around mental health.
Yeah.
At what point with your brand, with Lightning Boy, did that enter the picture? Like, that the messaging about mental health.
The messaging definitely wasn't always there. No, I take that back. It wasn't there in an obvious sense.
Yeah.
It was subconsciously there. I didn't even know I was putting it there. But I was designing from a place of not crying for help, but almost like resourcing my own therapy through design, through teaching myself how to sew, through teaching myself how to create patterns from scratch. And just the idea of pushing myself to say, I can complete one task now. Like say when I first started making pants, so I was like, all right, now I can make pants. Now I need to figure out a different type of pant. Like instead of being comfortable in that, I pushed myself to try to learn a different way of making pants or a harder way of making pants. And to bring that back to the mental health side of things, the challenge was therapeutic. The challenge of dealing with the failure, because I won't get it right the first time, the 5th time, the 10th time. And then the way I come out of that ended up being a source of therapy for me. And like I said, that was always in the clothing. So I once I realized the connection between the two, and that brought me to a place of light out of the darkness, then I realized I can't be the only one that feels this way.
Yeah.
And it might not be somebody who's in a creative field. It could be anyone. Connecting that to the fact that I grew up where, and this isn't any slight to my parents, I just grew up in a culture where men didn't talk about feelings much.
Yeah.
It sounds very cliche, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And the more I talk about it, the more I realize lots of men grew up like that.
Yeah.
Lots of men grew up where if certain things like crying was something that you weren't able to express openly without feeling like, am I going to be judged by that? You know what I mean? Like, are these people going to judge me? Or like if you fall over as a kid, it was always, come on, man, get up. Come on, man, dust that off, get up. And you're like, no, man, it hurts. Like, otherwise, I want to live in this for a second. And like, so connecting that just meant for me that I could be speaking to other people who are dealing with the same issues.
And off of that, you've got a shirt in the background here which says, suppressing your emotion is suppressing the chance to feel and process them. Real men cry. So I'm loving seeing this more and more of the statements and stuff like influencing, whether it's in word or if it's just in style as well. Yeah. Have you heard of Piff Marty?
Yes.
He's one of my favorite at the moment.
He's my mother-in-law's favorite too, actually.
I love him, singer, songwriter. But I'm pretty sure he blew up from TikTok. So I think he'd been putting a lot of work behind the scenes before then. Right. But then some of his stuff blew up on TikTok, and then his Spotify just went off. He's got a song called Boys Do Cry. Yeah. But he's also been like writing songs based on things that people are sending in, I think on TikTok or Instagram. So like someone sent in something that happened to them or something, or, around a lot of different topics, some around mental health, some around males and emotion. And writing, like using those stories to write raps or write songs about it. Yeah. So similar in a sense as well to, how you're creating fashion around different messages and stuff. I just love the ability to create and share those stories.
Because that's pretty much what all he's doing is he's using his creativity. Instead of just rapping about something random like his cars and jewelry or something like that, he's using it to spread a message. Yeah. And still having fun with it, because a lot of his stuff's really funny still. Yeah. So it's not like a PSA where everybody has to get sad. It's like you're getting the message, and he's a really good rapper. Actually, he's a really good lyricist. Like he's really good. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I love him, and I love what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Talking about mental health as well. So for you personally, what are some of the ways, like other than creating, are there a couple things that you could mention that you do to take care of your mental health?
For me personally, at the top of my list under creating would have to be being outside in nature. Yeah. Not just I mean, if I have to go outside and just walk down the street, that's good too. But if I can choose, it's always in the bush somewhere.
Yeah.
It's always like on a trail somewhere. Like I can go out for hours. There are days where I'll leave here maybe 4 a.m. and just go out into the bush and, walk, run, sit, take photos, just think, listen to music, listen to nature, and I can be out there for 4 or 5 hours at a time. I think that's probably the top two. The third will be any kind of physical exertion. So basketball. Love basketball. Grew up playing basketball. As most would assume when they see me, they always assume that. And I say no just because they're right. So.
Yeah. No, same. I get asked wherever I go.
Yeah, people ask, and I just say no. I've never played. I've never seen a basketball. What is that? But and the gym.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's my kit for self-care. And during all those things, I usually have headphones on because I'm a big music person.
Yeah.
So my self-care kit has to do with nature, creativity, physical exertion, and top it off with music.
Yeah. Nice. Who were your top 3 artists?
Oh, top 3 artists. I'm all over the place. It depends on...
At the moment, then.
At the moment?
Not at all time.
I mean, I've got like a Nipsey poster there, and I've got like Snoop Dogg's wine back here, and I have Wu-Tang vodka. So I love it. Nice. I have an NERD poster too. It's down right now.
Yeah.
But NERD is probably my all-time favorite. Are you familiar with NERD?
No.
So NERD is a band that Pharrell is a part of. I would say was. They haven't put music out in a while, but is a and it's my absolute favorite and has been for a long time. There's a kid, I think he's from LA. His name is Bakar, B-A-K-A-R. I don't know where he's from. I was randomly on this Instagram of this this thing called Colors. Yeah. Where they do, you know what I'm talking about? Where they have like the color background and the artists will do like almost like acoustic unplugged versions of their music.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
He was on there and the song was just like amazing. So I looked him up on Spotify and he's probably who I listen to the most at the moment.
Nice. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah. So I'm spread across everywhere between Paul Hardcastle, that's jazz. So it's like so I'm kind of everywhere. Yeah.
Do you feel like the music you listen to inspires your creative process?
Yes, maybe more fuels than inspires. I guess that's kind of the same.
Yeah. Gives you that motivational.
Yeah, it kind of gives that extra kick to. It's the like positive endorphins that keep me pushing through the late nights of finishing a project where I'm like way too tired to be doing it, but then the music has me pumping, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep going. It's
Snoop Dogg comes on at just the right time.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I gotta finish it now. Like, oh, now I have to finish the garment.
So we're talking about creativity, and you're a fashion designer. How do you stay motivated?
How do I stay motivated?
Because I find that's one thing that a lot of creatives have to tackle with at some time, finding the right rhythm for them to keep going, even when, like you were saying before, even through the late nights. Yeah.
I think when my kids come in and they see me sewing something and the way their faces light up to see me creating, because they think it's the coolest thing ever for different reasons. My son, very technical, loves the construction of things. He wants to know how things are made. He's fascinated with working the sewing machine. He can care less about the design side. He just wants to construct. Yeah. My daughter, on the other hand, she's got all the ideas. She says, how about this color? with that color? How about you make this fabric into a dress? How about, she's the one that wants the, she's more of the stylist side of things. So just the fact that every time I make something, they think it's just the coolest, or even they don't always think it's the coolest. They're very critical about things at times too, which is good too. But I think that's so cool for me. Like it's enough motivation for me to want to keep going. That, and the fact that my mind is working, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ahead of my actual physical body. So I'm always playing catch up with myself. So I have a long time before I can run out of motivation, I think.
Okay. That's cool. And with your kids, like they're watching you and they're probably, maybe not thinking these exact thoughts, but they're seeing you do it and they're like, maybe I can do that too. Or if you can do that, then,
Yeah, I mean, it's different because nobody's sewed in my family.
Yeah.
And I never seen that, really. I've never seen sewing. I remember the first time I seen someone sewing, period, was I had to be maybe 10 years old, 12 maybe. I was in Los Angeles. We were not too far from my grandmother's house. And there was a dry cleaners on the opposite corner, and we were walking by with my cousins. We would just walk the streets all the time. It was about 5 of us. And I'm walking by this dry cleaners, and there's this lady with this huge, big industrial, like green metal, like sewing machine, like near the window. And she's just like sewing away. And don't get me wrong, I've seen sewing machines and stuff before, but I don't think I've actively seen anyone using it. And I was like captivated by that for a while because it was, I don't know. I guess that probably connects with around the time I realized that people were like making these things, people putting this together. So, I think those kind of things are pretty cool, and I think my kids being able to be exposed to that is pretty cool. I mean, they might grow up and not even care about this kind of stuff, but just so that they know that it's an option, I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Yeah.
So when you're designing a new piece, whether it's a custom piece or it's something for a new collection, do you have like a bit of a process? Like what does that look like? Like when you come into, whether it's like this room where you've got, your sewing machines and stuff, what's the first step for you?
The first step.
Do you go to, like the fabric palette, the fabric store and...
Oh, you've been around for some of my processes, actually. I love doing that. A lot of times when I don't actually have an idea, but I just feel like making something, I will go to a fabric store.
Yeah.
So when I don't have any idea, like I'm just motivated to create and I don't have a direction yet. A lot of times I will go to a fabric store and just walk around.
Yeah.
90% of the time, the first couple ideas that come to me, or the first couple like swatches that I'll get will have nothing to do with the end products. Like it'll just lead me to where I want to go. But to be honest, usually I buy the fabric first.
Yeah.
I find a fabric that I like, and it'll be like the jumping off point, and then I'll bring it home. I have no idea what I'm making yet, whether it's going to be for male or female or dress or jacket or pants. I just I connect to the fabric. Then I'm home with the fabric. Then I'll sit with the fabric for a while, obviously depending on how much time I actually have.
Yeah.
But in a perfect world, when I'm in control of the time, I sit with the fabric for a while. And then a lot of times I don't want to make something that I've already made a pattern for.
Yeah.
Again, for some reason, it's that always challenging. It's easy to pull one of my patterns off the wall, lay it down, make a garment. But no, I want to lay it down and use measurements just to chalk out from scratch.
That ideation phase.
So I literally sketch out the constructive pieces of the garment onto the fabric.
Yeah.
And then I just start looking at it, figuring out if it makes sense. And if it does make sense, I'll pull out like my like calico or like muslin fabric, and then make the garment on there just to make sure, because some of the fabric's expensive, and if you mess up, it's like, I don't want to go buy this again. Yeah, it's an expensive mistake, because once things are cut, they're usually cut.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a custom for somebody. If I'm just making a garment to make, then sometimes you can get away with like making it a bit smaller size or something like that. But if you mess up a cut on a custom for someone, then it's pretty much start over.
An expensive mistake.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So with Lightning Boy, with yourself, what is the future? What do you see in your future with the brand? Where are you wanting to take it? So you've just recently had some of your pieces modeled and on display at the Brisbane Fashion Festival runway.
Brisbane Fashion Festival, yep, on August 24th.
Yeah.
On August 24th, that was, yep. And then recently, I talked on a panel for the Mind Your Fashion High Tea.
Nice.
I spoke about men's mental health and my connection with the brand and what that all means to me. So that was amazing. I think in the future here, ideally, I would like to, in the very near future, do a bit more of that. I want to do a bit more of connecting with people in the terms of mental health. I want to do a bit more. I'd like to do more podcasts discussing around mental health. I really want to dig into that side of it. And I really want to be a formidable change for men, or even young boys or teens going into manhood, or leaving high school. And just trying to figure it out, because those are the times where you feel like you really need to be your toughest, or you need to be, whatever, insert cliche here.
And it's so important. Like, as much as, we've been seeing a visible sort of shift in the messaging and discussions around mental health, and starting to see more discussions around men's mental health, this is still such a stigma, and there's still so many, still a massive generation that have grown up with parents who haven't known how to open up on that, especially guys, men, haven't known how to have those discussions, because they didn't have them modeled for them. So it's like I think there's such a need for it, and it's really important space.
Yeah, I hope to be making quite a bit of a change, but on the clothing and fashion side, in the future here, I will be doing a lot more shows. I will be doing a lot more traveling with those shows. And I have a lot of pieces to come out. Like I said, my mind is designed about 3 years ahead. So if only I could physically catch up, that'll be amazing.
No, that's awesome. And you have those pieces. Well, your current collection is out on lightningboy.com.au.
That's lightningboy.com.au, and you can use code STORM10 for 10% off.
STORM10.
Your entire purchase.
I like that. And your social media, if people want to find you, what's the best platform?
The best, I will always say, at Lightning Boy Clothing on Instagram.
And second best? I was like prompting TikTok.
I know. I was like, I think he's hinting at TikTok.
Or maybe not second best. Maybe.
No, but see, that was a good alley to get me to use TikTok.
This won't be posted for like 2 weeks minimum. So Instagram is Lightning Boy Clothing. Yep. And what's the next best platform?
The next best platform would have to be TikTok. I'm trying my best to build it up, and my TikTok is at Lightning Boy by CJ. So yes, please follow me on TikTok. I will try to figure out TikTok.
Look, I think a lot of us are trying to. We'll get there. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the podcast and having a chat about, a bit of what you're doing and what started it all, I guess.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate it, and I would love to come back on again.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to
still on now, so it's probably a bit early to be talking about it, but
we'll have to talk deeper about some topics next time. Hey, I hope you were inspired and got something out of today's episode. Now, I have a question for you. What keeps you going? Where does your inspiration come from? Let me know on our Instagram or our TikTok @ForTheCreatives Podcast, and I'll see you on the next one.